6 to 7, this is valid and this is invalid. Okay, invalid and valid groups. So that is equivalence class partitioning. Means like you no need to read the test cases for all the inputs. Any one, like the out of this value 6 to 10, you are checking at least one valid input. Equivalence class partitioning, then boundary value analysis. So the test cases that are not covering, so in equivalence class partitioning, I will cover through boundary value analysis. Boundary value analysis, it is the extension of the equivalence class partitioning. Here we will consider the boundary values. For example, here for a password field, A to 12 characters. So A to 12 means here the minimum is 8, maximum is 12 characters. So what is the valid means? This is boundary value we have to take, only boundary value. 8, 12, inner boundary, outer boundary means like 7, and here 13, 12, 13. Okay. So valid and invalid partitions we have to consider. Then cause effect grouping. Cause and effect. As the name indicates, a cause stands for the separate input conditions that fetches about the internal change in the system. An effect represents the output condition. Means because of the input, the output. Like for example, uh, so here these are the different input conditions: cause 1, cause 2, cause 3, cause 4. I mean, the different conditions. Because of this condition, the output. Okay, so this is a cause effect flow diagram. Like for example, because of the this is the notation how we represent. Because of the cause 1, cause means the input condition. Okay, cause 1 means it's a condition. Because of this condition, the effect. Because of this condition, this is the effect. It's positive, negative conditions we will check. Similar to that, here the three causes. Because of these three conditions, this is the output. So cause effect means based upon the input, the output will affect it. Means we have to. It is like a similar to the valid and invalid, but here we will consider the different conditions. Here we will consider three. Here two conditions, and because of that condition, the affected output. So for example, here the some cause effect example is there for the cause effect. The print message is a software that reads the two characters, and depending on their values, message must be printed. Means it reads the two characters. Reads the two characters means inputs two characters, and depending on that value, message must be printed. So here the first character is A or a B. The second character must be a digit. Okay, second character must be a digit. So the first character is an A or B, and the second character is a digit. The file must be updated. Like for example, if the input is like for example A and some digit, with this input the file is updated. Means this is a cause and effect. Because of this input, the, the output, this is expected output. So we'll compare this with the actual output. So this is the cause effect. Or suppose if the first character is B and some digit, the file is updated. Okay, these are with respect to the condition. Print a message. The print message is a software that reads two characters, and depending on their value, message must be printed. What is the output here? Message must be printed or updated. Means cause means with respect to the input, the output will affect it. So these are the different types of black box testing. Different types of black box testing, that is equivalence class partitioning, equivalence class partitioning, then boundary value analysis. You have to remember for your exam or even in interview also. Equivalence class partitioning, then boundary value analysis. Boundary value analysis, we consider the boundary values of the valid and input, valid and invalid classes, boundary values and cause effect method. So means for testing any application, we have to consider the all these different methods, all these different methods for the to cover the defects in an application. So let us discuss the advantage, disadvantage of the black box testing. It is well suited and efficient for the large code segments. Well suited means here we are not bothering about the codes and all. We are just focusing on input and output. Code access is not required. We are not accessing the code, and that is the advantage. Even the non-technical people or the one who have the basic knowledge of the programming, that he can go for the black box testing, and clearly separate the user perspective from the developer perspective through the visible defined rules, user's perspective as per the user requirements, and large number of moderately skilled testers can test the application with no knowledge of programming or implementation or operating system. So the one who can test the software, skilled software tester, the if suppose if he is having some basic knowledge, he can he can go for the black box testing with no knowledge of implementation or programming knowledge, because here he is not going through the details of the code and all, just providing the input and output. Suppose if it is a multiplication 2 into 5, and the output should be 10. So the drawbacks are the limited coverage. Limited coverage means uh, we are not the since only a selected number of test scenarios is actually performed. Means based upon the input and output, we are not checking all the details. Okay, so based upon the input and output, the few test scenarios are actually performed. Inefficient testing due to the fact that tester only has limited knowledge about the application, limited knowledge about the application, because the developer, because suppose if you know the coding and all, so he can the you can again he can test with the different scenarios. So that is inefficient testing. Blind coverage, since the tester cannot target a specific code segment or error prone areas. Then the test case are difficult to design. Yeah, even because if suppose if he is having a knowledge of programming, so he can write some other different test cases. So the test cases are difficult to design. So that's why the company they prefer the one who is having a programming knowledge, the one who is a programming knowledge. So nowadays that is agile team. Agile team means the the members they work as a tester or as a developer also. Okay, so that's why this scenario is different nowadays. Nowadays like the one who has to know all the knowledge concepts like developing and testing methodologies and all. Next, we will discuss about the one more testing method, that is a white box testing. So white box testing, it is also known as a clear box testing. clear box testing, the different names, open box testing, and glass box testing. Okay, as the transparent box testing, or code based testing, or structural testing. These are all different names. These are all the different names of this testing. Why this clear box means what? You can see the code. That's why the clear box. Open box. Open means again you can see the code in a module. Glass box. Glass, as the name indicates, glass means again you can see the code. So just you can with respect to the name, black box means you can't see the module code and all. Transparent testing, code based testing, structural testing. So these are all different different names of the testing methods. That is white box testing. So this white box testing is a method in which internal structure, design, implementation of the item being to known tested is known to the tester. Means the internal structure of the particular module. For example, just the concept like what white box testing means. Suppose you are like these are the some modules: login, registration, then one more module like payment transfer. Suppose these are the payment transfer, then payment transfer, then account details, account balance. Okay, account balance. So these are four modules, and in white box testing means that we are like the unit testing is also one of the type of unit testing is also one of the type of white box testing method. So in unit testing, integration testing, these are all the type of white box unit testing. So in unit testing, what we do, we individually we test the modules. Individually, we test the modules like login module, registration module, payment transfer, account. Individually, we'll test, will analyze the code, will analyze the logic. Okay, analyze the code and the logic of these modules. Like code coverage. Code coverage means the line by line code path coverage. We'll analyze the line by line code of each modules. So that is these are the different modules, and that the testing of independent module is called as unit testing. Unit testing is the method. Then integration testing means like suppose by integrating these two modules, login and registration, means it should work. Like suppose if you are registered successfully, then if you are registered successfully means you can be able to log in. Okay, after once the registration is confirmed, you should be able to log in. Means these two modules should be interconnect, and it should, like integration means it should work properly. Once you are registered, then you can able to log in, and those who are not registered, they should not able to log into the particular module or particular web page. So these are all like the integration. Integration means the integration of these two modules. So that is also unit testing. So I hope this concept is clear. White box testing. White box testing means we'll analyze the code. So white box testing is like a work of a mechanic, work of a mechanic who examines the engine to see why the car is not moving. Okay, so this is just a general example. Okay, suppose if your car or if your vehicle is not working. Okay, vehicle is not working, and the mechanic, he will just like generally he will change the oil, or he will check the engine parts and all. Okay, so internal details, he will analyze, he will step by step, he will go through all the parts of the vehicle. So that is white box testing. The tester needs to have a look inside the source code, look how to inside the source code, and find out the which unit or the chunk of the code is behaving inappropriately, which source code or the which line or which condition in the code which it is behaving inappropriately. So that is the job of a tester. So for the here you are analyzing the code. Analyzing the source code means the programming knowledge is required. Programming knowledge is required for the white box testing. Programming knowledge is required for the white box testing. Using white box testing methods, you can derive test cases that guarantee that all the independent paths within a module have been exercised at least once. The independent path in a code, independent path in the code, independent path within a module that exercise at least once. Exercise all the logical decisions, the conditions on the true or false side. Execute all the loops, at their boundaries within the operational bounds, and exercise the data structure to ensure their validity. So white box testing means you are covering all the paths, the loops, conditions, and all the logic. So this is the how you can explain graphically the white box testing. So white box testing means you are looking at the internal details, the conditions, the logic, the loops. Okay, so it's very different than the white black box testing. So in the black box testing, just you have to focus on the input and output. So cover the black box. Yeah, you see the internal details are not visible. Internal, the details are not visible. Here you're just focusing on the input and output. So it's a completely opposite, input and output. That is a black box. Why and when the white box testing? When to use white box testing? White box testing is mainly used for detecting the logical errors in the program code. Logical errors. It is used for debugging a code, finding the random typographical errors, uncovering some incorrect programming assumptions. White box testing is done at the low level design and implementable code. It can be applied at all the levels of the system development, especially uh, the unit testing, system testing, integration, all the levels. So this is called as levels of testing. What are the levels of testing means? The levels of testings are the unit testing, integration testing, unit integration, and we will study about these different levels: unit testing, integration testing, and system testing. So these are the different levels of testings, different levels of testing. So white box testing can be used for the other development artifacts like requirement analysis, designing, and test cases. White box testing, white box testing. techniques, the different type, like in the black box, equivalence class partitioning, boundary value analysis, cause effect graphing. Okay, equivalence class partitioning, equivalence class partitioning. Then what are the others? Boundary value analysis, boundary value analysis. Then cause effect graphing, cause effect, cause effect graphing, graph. So similar to that, in white box testing, what are the different techniques? Statement coverage, branch and decision coverage, and path coverage. Statement coverage, that techniques aimed at exercising all programming statements. It covers the all programming statements with minimal tests. Branch and decision coverage, as the name indicate, branch, the branches. Okay, if the condition is true, it jumps to the particular statement. Condition false, then it will jump to the other statement. Branch or some other, okay, part of the code. Then decision coverage. An example of a tool that handles the branch coverage testing, the different C plus Java applications. Path coverage, we'll discuss some example for all these: branch coverage, decision coverage, path coverage. That correspond The path coverage means all possible paths, which means that each statement and branch is covered. Means every path should be covered. The different paths in a flow of the statements. So statement coverage, this is for the statement coverage, branch and decision coverage, and path coverage. Statement coverage, branch and decision, and path coverage. These are the main three types of white box testing methods. So in statement coverage, the statement coverage is a white box testing technique which involves the execution of all the statements at least once. Statements, it executes the statement at least once in the source code. The statement coverage, we can identify the statements executed where the code is not executed because of the blockage. We'll see with the example. The statement coverage that covers only the true conditions. It covers only the true conditions. When the condition is true, it will jump to the that particular statement. Means it won't execute the false statement. Okay, because of this, it won't cover some of the statements. So that is the drawback of this statement coverage. The statement coverage only it covers what? True conditions. It covers only the true conditions. It covers only the true conditions. The main drawback of this technique is that we cannot test the false conditions. We cannot test the false conditions in the statement coverage. Statement means, here we can see one example. So these are the two numbers A and B. You are reading A and B. If A is greater than B, print A. Print A is greater than B. Okay. If condition is true, if this is true, then you are printing A is greater than B. And if you are coming here, you are not testing here. You are not testing the false statement. Okay. You are not testing the false statement. So here, out of these seven statement, for this A and B, if A is 5, if this is 5, and if it is 2, 5 greater than 2, so condition is true. So you are executing this statement, A is greater than 5. So you are not testing this else part. So you are testing only the five statement out of the 7. So that is 71% of the statements you are covering in this case. So statement coverage means what? It covers only the true conditions. It covers only the true conditions. The drawback of this technique is that we cannot test for the false conditions in it. So the statement coverage is the number of statement executed, So in our case, it was 5 and divided by the total number of statements. Total number of statement is 7 in that particular exam. So here you will get around 71 percentage. Means we are not covering all the, so so to cover all the statements, again we go for the one more white box testing technique. Okay, so this is about the statement coverage. Statement coverage means it covers the true conditions. Then one more type is branch or decision coverage. Branch or decision coverage. Branch coverage is also known as the decision coverage. Branch coverage is also known as the decision coverage or all edge coverage. All edge coverage. It covers both the true and false conditions. It covers both true and false conditions, unlikely the statement coverage. A branch is the outcome of a decision. So branch coverage simply measures which decision outcomes have been tested. This sounds great because it takes a more in-depth view of the source code than simple statement coverage. Okay, it goes in depth. In depth means what? In the statement coverage, it covers only the true conditions, but in the branch decision coverage, we are covering both the true and false. Both the conditions we are testing. Means we are rating the test cases for both. Okay, so like you can see the example, read x, read y. If x is greater than y, then this is the statement, and here 100%, here else condition is not there here in this case, but here you have to write the different test cases. Okay, if the condition x is greater than y, you are covering all the statements. This is the test case 1. What is the test case 1? If it is 10, if it is 5, 10 greater than 5, condition is true, it print this message. Okay, here is 100% decision coverage, but for false condition you have to write one more test case. What is that? Test case 2, x is equal to 2, y is equal to 10. So in this way you have to cover 100% all the statements. 100% all the statement coverage. So that is the statement coverage, branch or decision. First one is the statement coverage, branch or decision coverage. We will write the test cases for both positive and means like positive condition, negative for conditions for both true and false conditions, and we will cover all the 100% statements. Then in the path coverage, the basis path method, the path enables the test case designer to derive a logical complexity measure of procedural design and use this measure as a guide for defining a basis set of execution paths. Path coverage means like for example here, suppose if the condition A is true, then go for this function. Once this is completed, function 2, then again check the condition of A, concurrent statements, then function F3. So this is the path how these are the different possibles. If condition A, F1, F1 to F2, okay, then again A, F this path F3, F4. This is the one possible way. Then the second A, if condition is if it is true, if this one means we have to cover all the possible paths. We have to cover all the possible paths. So that is the path coverage based upon the true condition, because A is a condition. Based upon the true condition and false condition, we need to cover, like if A is true or false. Based upon this, we have only two possibles. Based upon this, we need to cover all the possible paths. So that is path coverage. So uh, totally in white box testing, white box testing, how many methods are there? Statement coverage, statement coverage. Then second one is branch coverage, branch coverage or decision coverage. Then third one is path coverage, path coverage. So with these three methods, okay, we can do the white box testing, white box testing. Okay, white box testing means we will cover all the paths. So I hope you understood all the concepts, the black box testing, white box testing.